Welcome back to another episode of They Didn't Teach That at School. I'm your host, Mark Kerrigan, and today we're diving into the ancient, fascinating world of Zoroastrianism. Buckle up because we're about to embark on a journey through time, exploring one of the oldest continually practiced religions on the planet. Zoroastrianism was founded by the prophet Zoroaster, also known as Zarathustra, around 3,500 years ago in ancient Persia, which roughly corresponds to modern-day Iran. This religion has profoundly influenced the spiritual landscape of the world, and today we'll be uncovering its rich history, key figures, and sacred texts. In this episode, we'll take a detailed look at the rise of Zoroastrianism. We'll explore how it flourished under the mighty Persian empires, from the Achaemenid to the Parthian and the Sasanian dynasties. These were the times when Zoroastrianism was not just a religion, but the very foundation of the state and culture. We'll also delve into the dualistic nature of Zoroastrianism, where Ahura Mazda, the wise lord, represents all that is good, standing in stark contrast to Angra Mainyu, the destructive spirit of chaos and evil. This cosmic struggle between good and evil is a cornerstone of Zoroastrian belief and has inspired countless stories and teachings. Key figures like Zoroaster himself, the prophet whose hymns, the Gathas, form the heart of Zoroastrian Avesta, will be spotlighted. We'll explore the Avesta, the sacred collection of texts that guide Zoroastrian worship and ethical practices. And let's not forget the Magi, Zoroastrian priests whose name echoes through history and is even connected to the nativity story of Christianity. Speaking of connections, Zoroastrianism has left an indelible mark on other major religions, including Gnosticism, Judaism, and Christianity. We'll explore these intriguing links, such as the concept of Messiah, heaven and hell, and final judgment, all which might sound familiar to you. And finally, we'll bring the story a full circle by looking at the status of Zoroastrianism today. Despite facing persecution and decline after the Muslim conquest of Persia, Zoroastrians, particularly the Parsi in India, have preserved their faith and traditions. We'll discuss their contributions to society and how this ancient religion continues to thrive in modern times. So whether you're a history buff, a religious studies enthusiast, or just curious about the world's spiritual heritage, stay tuned. We're about to uncover the untold stories and fascinating aspects of Zoroastrianism that they didn't teach you in school. Zoroastrianism originated in the region of ancient Persia, which corresponds to modern-day Iran and parts of Central Asia. It is believed to be founded by the prophet Zoroaster, also known as Zarathustra, around 3,500 years ago. To understand the emergence of Zoroastrianism, we need to look at the socio-cultural and religious landscape of this region during that time. Before Zoroastrianism, the people of ancient Persia practiced a form of polytheism that was common among the Indo-Iranian tribes. These tribes worshipped a pantheon of deities associated with natural elements and celestial bodies. Key figures in this pantheon included Mithra, the god of covenant and light, and Anhita, the goddess of water and fertility. The religious practices were characterized by rituals and sacrifices aimed at appeasing these gods and ensuring their favor. Against this backdrop, Zoroaster emerged as a religious reformer. According to tradition, Zoroaster was born into a priestly family and trained in the rituals and beliefs of his time. However, he became increasingly disillusioned with the prevailing religious practices, which he viewed as corrupt and morally bankrupt. At the age of 30, Zoroaster experienced a divine revelation. He was visited by Vohu Mana and brought before Ahura Mazda, the wise lord, who revealed to him the principles of a new faith. Zoroaster's teachings marked a significant departure from the polytheistic traditions of his people. He preached the existence of a single supreme god, Ahura Mazda, who embodied all that was good and just. This was a radical shift in a world where multiple deities were the norm. Zoroaster's message emphasized the dualistic nature of existence, characterized by the eternal struggle between Ahura Mazda, who was good, and Angra Mainyu, who was evil. Zoroaster's teachings also introduced a strong ethical dimension to religious practice. He emphasized the importance of living a righteous life through good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. This ethical triad became a cornerstone of Zoroastrian practice. Zoroaster taught that humans had the free will to choose between good and evil, and their choices would determine their fate in the afterlife. This focus on personal responsibility and moral integrity was a significant innovation in religious thought. The rise of Zoroastrianism can also be understood in the context of the socio-political environment of the time. Ancient Persia was characterized by a tribal society with frequent conflicts and power struggles. Zoroaster's message of a single, just God and the moral imperative to choose good over evil resonated with the people looking for stability and ethical clarity amongst the chaos. Additionally, Zoroastria's emphasis on truth and justice appealed to leaders who sought to legitimize their rule through a divinely sanctioned ethical framework. Zoroaster's teachings initially faced resistance, especially from the established priestly class and the traditionalists. However, his perseverance and the compelling nature of his message eventually won over several influential converts. One of the most notable early converts was King Vishtaspa, who became a patron of Zoroastrianism and helped spread its teaching throughout his realm. The support of such political figures was crucial in the establishment and growth of Zoroastrianism. As Zoroastrianism gained followers, its teachings were codified into sacred text known as the Avesta. The Avesta included the Gathas, which was hymns believed to have been composed by Zoroaster himself, as well as other liturgical works and religious doctrines. These texts provided a structured framework for Zoroastrian practice and helped preserve the religion's teachings for future generations. In summary, Zoroastrianism emerged in ancient Persia as a radical departure from the polytheistic and ritualistic practices of the time. Stemming from Zoroaster's divine revelation and his emphasis on ethical monotheism, the religion offered a compelling vision of a cosmic struggle between good and evil, with profound implications for personal and societal morality. The socio-political environment of ancient Persia provided fertile ground for these teachings to take root and to spread, eventually becoming the foundation of one of the world's most influential religions. Zoroastrianism's golden age began with the Achaemenid Empire, founded by Cyrus the Great in the 6th century BCE. Cyrus, known for his remarkable policies of tolerance and respect for the cultures and religions of the land he conquered, was a devout Zoroastrian. His empire, stretching from the Balkans to the Indus Valley, was the largest the world had seen at that time. Under his rule, Zoroastrianism began to take shape as the state religion, deeply influencing the administrative and ethical foundations of the empire. Darius the Great, another prominent Achaemenid ruler, further solidified Zoroastrianism's place in Persian society. He credited Ahura Mazda, the supreme god in Zoroastrian belief, for his success and conquests. The Behistun inscription, a multilingual inscription carved into a cliff in Iran, not only tells us the story of Darius's rise to power, but also emphasizes his devotion to Ahura Mazda. This era saw the construction of fire temples, where sacred flames, symbolizing the divine light and wisdom of Ahura Mazda, were kept burning continuously. The influence of Zoroastrianism continued through the Parthian Empire, which rose after the fall of the Achaemenids. Although Parthians were known for their diverse and somewhat decentralized approach to government, Zoroastrianism remained a significant religious force. The Parthian kings maintained the Zoroastrian tradition of fire temples and priestly authority, blending it with the various cultural and religious practices of their vast and diverse empire. The Sasanian Empire, which succeeded the Parthians in the 3rd century CE, marked the zenith of Zoroastrian influence. The Sasanians declared Zoroastrian the official state religion, embedding it deeply into the fabric of Persian identity and governance. Sasanian kings such as Ardashir I and Shapir I saw themselves as protectors and promoters of the faith. The Avesta, the sacred Zoroastrian texts, were codified and expanded during this period, preserving the hymns of Zoroaster and other liturgical works that guided religious practice and ethical conduct. Under Sasanian rule, Zoroastrianism became intrinsically linked with the state's administrative structure. The Magi, or Zoroastrian priests, wielded considerable influence, advising the kings and overseeing religious rituals. Fire temples dotted the landscape, and Zoroastrian festivals like Nowruz and the Persian New Year were celebrated with grandeur and state support. These were the times when Zoroastrianism was not just a religion, but the very foundation of state and culture. The faith's emphasis on truth and order and the cosmic battle between good and evil mirrored the administrative and legal systems of the empire. The Sasanian legal code, for example, was heavily influenced by Zoroastrian ethical principles, emphasizing justice, honesty, and the protection of the weak. We've just finished exploring the origins of this ancient religion, but now it's time to unpack its core beliefs. These foundational principles not only shaped Zoroastrianism, but also influenced many other religious traditions. At the heart of Zoroastrianism lies a profound dualistic cosmology. This is the belief in the ongoing battle between two fundamental forces, good and evil. On one side, we have Ahura Mazda, the wise lord, who embodies all that is good and just and pure. Ahura Mazda is the supreme god in Zoroastrianism, revered as the creator of the universe and the source of all wisdom and light. Opposing Ahura Mazda is Angra Mainyu, also known as Ahriman, the destructive spirit who represents chaos, darkness, and deceit. This cosmic struggle is not just a metaphysical concept. It has practical implications for the followers of Zoroastrianism. Each individual is seen as a participant in this battle, with their actions contributing to the triumph of either good or evil. And this brings us to one of the most significant aspects of Zoroastrian belief, the emphasis on personal choice and responsibility. Zoroastrianism promotes an ethical form of monotheism. While Ahura Mazda is the sole god, the religion places a strong emphasis on morality and ethical conduct. The followers are guided by three fundamental principles: Humata, which is good thoughts, Hakata, good words, and Havashta, good deeds. These principles are more than just guidelines. They are seen as essential actions that help support Ahura Mazda in the cosmic battle against Angra Mainyu. By cultivating good thoughts, speaking truthfully, and performing righteous deeds, Zoroastrians actively contribute to the betterment of the world and the ultimate victory of good over evil. The teachings and principles of Zoroastrianism are encapsulated in the Avesta, the religion's sacred texts. The Avesta is divided into several parts, with the Gathas being the most revered. The Gathas are the collection of hymns believed to have been composed by Zoroaster himself. These hymns express the core theological concepts of Zoroastrianism and provide insights into Zoroaster's spiritual vision. Another significant part of the Avesta is the Yasna, which includes the liturgical rites and ceremonies performed by Zoroastrian priests. The Vendidad contains the laws and ethical guidelines, while the Visparad expands on the liturgical teachings of the Yasna. Together, these texts form a comprehensive guide for Zoroastrian worship and ethical living. One of the most distinctive and recognizable elements of Zoroastrianism is its reverence for fire. Fire is seen as a symbol of Ahura Mazda's divine light and wisdom. Zoroastrians maintain fire temples where an eternal flame is kept burning continuously. This flame represents the presence of Ahura Mazda and serves as a focal point for worship and prayer. Fire worship in Zoroastrianism is not about idolizing the flame itself, but rather what the flame represents: purity, truth, and the divine light of Ahura Mazda. The fire ritual involves various prayers and offerings, aiming to maintain the purity and sanctity of the flame, reflecting the Zoroastrian emphasis on purity in all aspects of life. Zoroastrian eschatology includes a well-defined concept of the afterlife and final judgment. Upon death, the soul of an individual is judged based on their thoughts, words, and deeds. This judgment determines whether they will enter paradise or suffer in a place of punishment. One of the unique aspects of Zoroastrian belief is the Chinvat Bridge, or the Bridge of Judgment. Souls must cross this bridge, which either becomes wide and easy to traverse for the righteous or narrow and perilous for the wicked. The righteous are welcome into the house of song, a heavenly abode, where the wicked fall into the abyss. The ultimate fate of the world, however, is a future event known as Frashokereta. This is the Zoroastrian concept of the final renovation, where the world will be cleansed of all evil and good will triumph completely. At this time, the dead will be resurrected, and all souls will be purified and reunited with Ahura Mazda in a state of eternal bliss. Zoroastrian's core beliefs offer a profound vision of life's purpose and the cosmic battle between good and evil. Its ethical monotheism, reverence for fire, and detailed sacred texts and concepts of the afterlife have not only shaped followers' lives for millennia, but also left a lasting legacy on world's religions. Remember, this religion was codified 3,500 years ago. As we continue our exploration, we'll uncover more about the influential figures and connections that make Zoroastrianism a truly remarkable chapter in the history of human spirituality. At the heart of Zoroastrianism is its founder, Zoroaster, also known as Zarathustra. Born into a priestly family in ancient Persia, Zoroaster experienced a divine revelation that profoundly changed the religious landscape of his time. He became the prophet of a new monotheistic faith centered on Ahura Mazda, the wise lord. Zoroaster's teachings are encapsulated in the Gathas, a collection of hymns that form the core of the Avesta, the Zoroastrian sacred text. The Gathas are remarkable not only for their spiritual insights, but also for their poetic beauty. In these hymns, Zoroaster communicates his vision of a world divided between the forces of good, led by Ahura Mazda, and the forces of evil, led by Angra Mainyu. He emphasizes the importance of individual choice and the ethical imperative to live a life of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. The Avesta is the holy book of Zoroastrianism, containing the sacred texts that guide its worship and ethical practices. It is divided into several sections, each with its own significance. The Gathas, as mentioned, these are the hymns composed by Zoroaster himself. The Yasna, the Vendidad, and the Visparad. The Avesta not only provides the theological foundation of Zoroastrianism, but also preserves the rich theological traditions and ethical teachings of the faith. It serves as a comprehensive guide for both the religious practices and the moral conduct expected of Zoroastrians. No discussion of Zoroastrianism would be complete without mentioning the Magi. The Magi were the Zoroastrian priests responsible for maintaining the sacred fires, performing rituals, and preserving religious knowledge and traditions. Their role was crucial in the practice and transmission of the faith. The influence of the Magi extended beyond Zoroastrianism. They were renowned for their wisdom and knowledge, making them respected figures in various ancient cultures. In fact, the term Magi is the root of the word magic, reflecting their association with mystical knowledge and practices. And interestingly, the Magi also appear in the Christian nativity story as the three wise men who visited the infant Jesus bearing gifts. This connection highlights the cultural and historical significance of the Magi, bridging Zoroastrianism and early Christianity in a fascinating way. While Zoroaster and the Magi are central figures in Zoroastrianism, other historical figures have also played significant roles. King Vishtaspa was an early and influential convert to Zoroastrianism. He provided critical support that helped the religion gain traction and spread. His endorsement was instrumental in the early growth of the faith. Mani, the founder of Manichaeism, Mani was heavily influenced by Zoroastrian dualism. His teachings integrated elements of Zoroastrianism, Christianity, and Buddhism, creating a syncretic religion that spread across the ancient world. And Mazdak, a Zoroastrian priest and social reformer. Mazdak led a revolutionary movement in the Sasanian Empire, advocating for communal ownership and social welfare. His ideas, though ultimately suppressed, reflected on the dynamic and evolving nature of Zoroastrian thought and its impact on Persian society. Zoroaster, the Avesta, and the Magi are pillars of Zoroastrianism, shaping its theology, worship, and ethical practices. Their contributions have left a lasting legacy, not only within Zoroastrianism, but in the broader religious and cultural history of humanity. As we continue our exploration, we'll delve into the connections between Zoroastrianism and other major religions, shedding light on the profound influence of this ancient faith. Now we're going to delve into the fascinating connections between Zoroastrianism and major religions, particularly Judaism, Buddhism, and Gnosticism. Understanding these connections sheds light on the profound influence this ancient faith had on the spiritual and cultural development of these traditions. The connection between Zoroastrianism and Judaism is both profound and historically significant. During the 6th century BCE, the Jewish people were exiled to Babylon following the Babylonian conquest of Jerusalem. This period of captivity exposed the Jewish exiles to Zoroastrian ideas as Persia, under Cyrus the Great, conquered Babylon and established the Achaemenid Empire. Cyrus the Great is celebrated in the Bible as a liberator who allowed Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. His policies of religious tolerance and respect for different cultures were likely influenced by Zoroastrian ethical principles. Several scholars suggest that key Zoroastrian concepts may have permeated Jewish thought during this period, including monotheism. While Judaism was already a monotheistic faith, the dualistic elements of Zoroastrianism, emphasizing the cosmic struggle between good and evil, may have reinforced Jewish theological concepts of Satan and the messianic figure who would ultimately defeat evil. Eschatology, ideas about end times, resurrection of the dead, and the final judgment show striking similarities between Zoroastrianism and later Jewish thought. The Zoroastrian concept of frashkareti, the final renovation of the universe, where good triumphs over evil, parallels Jewish eschatological visions of a future redemption and restoration. Angels and demons. The hierarchy of angels and demons in Jewish theology may have been influenced by Zoroastrianism's detailed cosmology, which includes a pantheon of divine and demonic entities. The connections between Zoroastrianism and Buddhism are more subtle, but none the less intriguing. Buddhism emerged in the 6th century BCE in the Indian subcontinent. Around the same time, Zoroastrianism was flourishing in Persia. While direct interactions between early Buddhists and Zoroastrians are not well documented, there are parallel themes worth noting. Ethical living. Both religions emphasize living an ethical life. Zoroastrianism's triad of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds finds a counterpart in Buddhism's emphasis on right thought, right speech, and right actions as part of the Noble Eightfold Path. Dualism and karma. Zoroastrianism's dualistic worldview, where individuals choose between good and evil, can be seen as paralleling the Buddhist concept of karma, where actions have a moral concept that shapes one's future. Both traditions stress the importance of ethical choices in determining one's spiritual destiny. And finally, the cosmic struggle. The notion of a cosmic struggle between good and evil in Zoroastrianism may resonate with Buddhist themes of the battle between ignorance and enlightenment, as well as the conflict between the Mara, the personification of evil, and the path to nirvana. It is in Gnosticism, a mystical and esoteric movement that emerged in the early centuries of the Common Era, that we see several connections to Zoroastrianism. Gnostic beliefs are characterized by a dualistic worldview and a pursuit of hidden knowledge to achieve spiritual liberation. Here it is clear how Zoroastrianism influenced Gnostic thought. Gnosticism's stark dualism between the material world, seen as evil or corrupt, and the spiritual realm, considered pure and good, mirrors Zoroastrian dualism between Ahura Mazda's good creation and Angra Mainyu's evil influence. Both systems see the physical world as a battleground for cosmic forces. Gnostic soteriology, which focuses on escaping the material world and returning to a higher spiritual reality, can be compared to the Zoroastrian goal of aligning with Ahura Mazda and contributing to the eventual defeat of Angra Mainyu. Both traditions emphasize the importance of spiritual knowledge and ethical living in achieving salvation. Gnostic texts also often describe complex cosmogonies that involve a series of emanations from a supreme, unknowable deity. This bears some resemblance to Zoroastrian accounts of the creation and the intricate hierarchy of divine and demonic beings. The connections between Zoroastrianism and other major religions like Judaism, Buddhism, and Gnosticism reveal the far-reaching influence of Zoroastrianism thought on the development of spiritual and ethical concepts across different traditions. From the shared themes of dualism and ethical living to the intricate cosmologies and eschatological visions, Zoroastrianism has left an enduring mark on the world's religious landscape. In our next section, we'll delve deeper into the connections between Zoroastrianism and Christianity, where we'll explore how this ancient faith influenced key Christian doctrines and practices. Stay tuned for an in-depth comparison and uncover the fascinating intersection between these two great religions. Zoroastrianism's emphasis on monotheism, centered around the worship of Ahura Mazda, likely reinforced and shaped the monotheistic framework of early Christianity. Additionally, the Zoroastrian dualistic worldview, with its cosmic struggle between good and evil, parallels the Christian narrative of God versus Satan. This dualism is evident in Christian theology, where the world is seen as a battleground between the forces of good, led by God and his angels, and the forces of evil, led by Satan and his demons. One of the most significant areas of Zoroastrian influence on Christianity is eschatology, the study of end times. Zoroastrianism introduced the concept of heaven, hell, and a final judgment, which became integral to Christian doctrine. Zoroastrianism's vision of the afterlife included a paradise for the righteous and a place of torment for the wicked. This dualistic view of the afterlife directly influenced Christian teachings about heaven and hell. In Zoroastrian belief, souls cross the Chinvat bridge after death, where they are judged and their eternal fate is determined. This concept is mirrored in Christian teaching about the final judgment, where souls are judged by God and sent to either eternal bliss or eternal damnation based on their earthly deeds. Zoroastrianism's eschatological promise of Frashokareti, the final renovation of the universe, involves the resurrection of the dead and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. This belief likely influenced early Christian concept of the resurrection and the second coming of Christ, where the dead will be resurrected and Christ will establish a new divine order to bring an end to suffering and evil. One of the most fascinating intersections between Zoroastrianism and Christianity is the story of the Magi in the New Testament. The Gospel of Matthew describes the visit of the Magi, or the wise men, who travelled from the east to honour the newborn Jesus. These Magi were Zoroastrian priests, renowned for their knowledge of the stars and the prophecies. Their presence in the Nativity story underscores the cultural and religious connections between the Persian world and early Christianity. The Zoroastrian concept of Saoshyant, a future saviour who will bring about the final defeat of evil and restore the world, bears similarities to the Christian concept of the Messiah. Both traditions look forward to the arrival of a divinely appointed figure who will fulfill the divine plan and bring about salvation and renewal. And here are some little-known facts and intriguing intersections between Zoroastrianism and Christianity. Zoroastrian angels. The hierarchy of divine beings in Zoroastrianism included the Amesha Spentus and the Yazatas, influenced Christian angelology. The Christian idea of archangels and angels with specific roles and attributes can be traced back to Zoroastrian concepts. The emphasis on purity in Zoroastrian rituals, particularly the maintenance of the sacred fire and the use of clean water, parallels Christian practices of baptism and the veneration of candles and fire in liturgical ceremonies. Both traditions see these elements as symbols of spiritual purification and divine presence. Zoroaster's triad of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds resonates with the ethical teachings of Jesus, who emphasized love, kindness, and righteousness. This focus on ethical teaching and responsibility is a shared hallmark of both religions, and early Christian theologians such as Justin Martyr and Clement of Alexandria acknowledged the wisdom of Zoroaster and the Zoroastrian priests. They saw parallels between Zoroastrian teaching and Christian doctrine, suggesting a recognition of the shared spiritual heritage. During the Achaemenid and the later Sasanian empires, interaction between Persian Zoroastrians and Jews laid the groundwork for the exchange of religious ideas. These exchanges continued into the early Christian era, particularly into regions like Mesopotamia, where Jewish and Christian communities lived in close proximity to Zoroastrian populations. The connections between Zoroastrianism and Christianity are deep and multifaceted, reflecting a rich history of religious and cultural exchange. From eschatological visions of heaven and hell to ethical teachings and the story of the Magi, Zoroastrianism has left an indelible mark on Christian doctrine and practice. These intersections highlight the profound influence of Zoroastrian thought on the development of early Christianity, enriching our understanding of both traditions. In the next segment, we'll explore the status of Zoroastrianism today, examining how this ancient faith has adapted and survived through the centuries and its place in the modern world. Zoroastrianism has faced numerous challenges through its long history, including periods of persecution, migration, and cultural change. After the Islamic conquest of Persia in the 7th century, Zoroastrianism lost its status as the state religion. Many Zoroastrians faced persecution and were forced to convert to Islam. However, the resilience of the Zoroastrian community allowed the faith to survive. One of the most significant events in the history of Zoroastrianism was the migration of a group of Zoroastrians to India, where they became known as the Parsi. Fleeing religious persecution in Persia, these Zoroastrians sought refuge in the western Indian state of Gujarat around the 8th century. The Parsi community thrived in India, preserving their religious traditions and contributing significantly to Indian society, particularly in commerce, industry, and philanthropy. Zoroastrian communities have adapted their environments while maintaining their religious identity. In India, Parsi integrated into the local culture, adapting the Gujarati language and customs while preserving their distinct religious practices. They established fire temples, maintained their unique funerary practices, and celebrated Zoroastrian festivals like Nowruz with great fervour. In Iran, the Zoroastrian community, though much smaller, continues to practice their faith openly. The fire temples in Yazd and Kerman are significant centres of worship, and the community celebrates traditional festivals, often with the participation of local Muslim neighbours, highlighting the spirit of mutual respect and coexistence. Today, Zoroastrianism is a minor religion with a global presence. The largest Zoroastrian communities are in India and Iran, with significant diaspora populations in North America, Europe, and Australia. Despite their small numbers, Zoroastrians maintain a vibrant cultural and religious identity. But one of the major challenges facing modern Zoroastrianism is demographic decline. The community has a low birth rate and high rates of interfaith marriages, which some fear could lead to a dilution of religious identity. To address this, there are ongoing debates within the community about inclusivity, conversion, and the role of interfaith marriages. Despite these challenges, Zoroastrians continue to make significant contributions to society. In India, the Parsi are renowned for their philanthropic endeavours. Prominent Parsi figures like Jamsetji Tata, the founder of the Tata Group, and Zubin Mehta, the celebrated conductor, have made significant impacts in business, culture, and the arts. In Iran, Zoroastrianisms actively participate in the cultural and social life, advocating for religious freedom and the preservation of their heritage. The Zoroastrian MPs in the Iranian parliament represent their community's interests, ensuring that their rights and traditions are respected. The Zoroastrian diaspora has also been instrumental in fostering a sense of global community. Organisations like the Federation of Zoroastrian Associations of North America and the World Zoroastrian Organisation work to connect Zoroastrians worldwide, promote religious education, and support cultural preservation. These organisations sponsor youth programs, conferences, and cultural events, helping to strengthen the bonds within the Zoroastrian community. As Zoroastrianism moves into the future, it faces the challenges of balancing tradition with modernity. Younger generations are exploring ways to keep their faith relevant in a rapidly changing world. Initiatives to digitalise religious texts, use social media for community building, and promote interfaith dialogue are all part of this effort to ensure the survival and growth of Zoroastrianism. We began our journey by exploring the origins of Zoroastrianism, founded by the prophet Zoroaster around 3,500 years ago in ancient Persia. We learned about the profound dualistic worldview that defined this faith, centered on the cosmic struggle between the forces of good and the forces of evil. We delved into the core beliefs of Zoroastrianism, including the ethical monotheism, the sacred texts of the Avesta, the significance of fire worship, and the Zoroastrian concepts of the afterlife and final judgment. Our exploration took us further into the connections between Zoroastrianism and other major religions. We uncovered significant influence Zoroastrianism had on Judaism, Buddhism, and Gnosticism, and saw how key ideas like dualism, ethical living, and eschatology crossed religious boundaries. In a detailed examination of the connections between Zoroastrianism and Christianity, we discovered how concepts such as heaven and hell, resurrection, and the role of the Magi have their roots in Zoroastrian thought. These intersections highlight the profound impact of Zoroastrian on the development of Christian doctrines and practices. And finally, we brought our journey into the present day, exploring the status of Zoroastrianism today. Despite challenges like demographic decline and cultural assimilation, Zoroastrians continue to maintain their vibrant religion and cultural identity. From the Parthian in India to the Zoroastrian diaspora around the world, this ancient faith has adapted and survived, contributing significantly to the societies in which it thrives. Zoroastrian's journey from ancient Persia to the modern world is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of its followers. Its profound influence on major world religions and its continued presence today underscore the enduring legacy of this ancient faith. As we conclude this episode, we reflect on the rich history and remarkable contributions of Zoroastrianism. It is a story of faith, perseverance, and cultural exchange that continues to inspire and fascinate. In our next episode, we'll be diving into another intriguing topic, the Dead Sea Scrolls. These ancient manuscripts have captivated scholars and publics alike since their discovery, offering valuable insights into the history of Judaism and early Christianity. We'll explore their origins, their content, and the controversies surrounding them. So make sure you tune in for a fascinating exploration of one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the world of Zoroastrianism. I'm Mark Kerrigan. Stay curious and see you next time on They Didn't Teach That at School.